The moment she leaned across the polished diner table and whispered the warning, she knew her life would never be the same. It wasn't her place. It wasn't her business. But sometimes, doing the right thing costs everything. If you believe in kindness and second chances, take a second right now to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel Pure Kindness. Stories like this remind us that even small acts of courage can change lives forever. It was a bright Tuesday afternoon when Clara Whitmore balanced a tray of iced tea and sandwiches through the hum of lunchtime chatter. Sunlight streamed through the wide diner windows, catching in her braided blonde hair as she moved from table to table. The place smelled of coffee and warm bread, and the red vinyl booths were filled with office workers escaping their routines. Clara had worked at Maple Grove Diner for 6 years, long enough to read people by the way they held a fork or avoided eye contact. That was how she noticed him. At booth 12 sat a sharply dressed man in a tailored navy suit, his silver watch glinting as he checked the time. Across from him sat another man, overly confident, leaning back with a smile that never reached his eyes. Clara didn't know their names then, but she recognized wealth when she saw it. The quiet one carried himself with restrained power. The other carried something else, restlessness. As Clara refilled their coffee, she overheard fragments of conversation. Investment transfers. Signatures. A large deal closing tomorrow. The confident one kept insisting everything was ready. But when he excused himself to take a phone call, Clara noticed something that tightened her chest. The man's briefcase was slightly open, revealing documents that didn't match the details she had just heard. Dates were altered. Percentages changed. Her stomach dropped. She had seen enough late-night news to know what fraud looked like. She tried to ignore it. She was just a waitress. Rent was due next week. Her mother's medical bills sat unpaid on her kitchen counter. Getting involved could cost her job. But as she watched the quiet man, later she would learn his name was Adrian Keller, study the contract with trust in his eyes, something inside her refused to stay silent. When the other man stepped away again, Clara leaned in slightly, her heart pounding louder than the diner's clattering dishes. She told Adrian softly that he might want to double-check the documents. She mentioned the inconsistencies she had glimpsed. She apologized for overstepping, explaining she could be mistaken. But she couldn't forgive herself if she said nothing. For a split second, Adrian's expression hardened. Suspicion. Annoyance. Who was she to question his business partner? But then he saw the tremor in her hands and the sincerity in her eyes. There was no greed there. No manipulation. Just concern. The rest of that afternoon passed in a blur. Adrian asked for new copies of the documents. He made a quiet phone call. Within an hour, the confident friend was gone, escorted out by 2 stern-faced men in suits. Clara kept her head down, pretending to wipe tables while her pulse thundered in her ears. The next morning, Clara woke early, sunlight spilling across her tiny apartment's peeling walls. She expected nothing except another long shift and maybe a warning from her manager about minding her own business. Instead, as she stepped outside, she froze. Parked in front of her building was a sleek black luxury car, gleaming under the morning sun like something out of a magazine. Neighbors peeked through curtains. Children stopped their bikes to stare. Her heart raced as the back door opened. Adrian Keller stepped out, no longer just a distant customer in a booth. In daylight, he looked less intimidating, more human. He carried no briefcase today, only a simple envelope. He explained that Clara had saved him from signing a deal that would have cost him millions and destroyed years of work. The man he trusted had been quietly siphoning funds for months. Adrian's legal team had confirmed everything within hours of her warning. He admitted that if she hadn't spoken up, he would have signed blindly the next day. Then he handed her the envelope. Inside was not just a check, though there was one, large enough to clear her mother's medical debt, but also an offer. A scholarship fund in her name, fully covering business classes at the local college if she wished to pursue them. Adrian told her he valued integrity more than profit, and people like her were rare. Clara stood speechless on the cracked pavement outside her building, tears catching in the morning light. For years she had felt invisible, another apron in a crowded diner. But in one brave moment, she had chosen honesty over fear. Word spread quietly in town. Not about the money, but about the waitress who did the right thing when it mattered. Customers began leaving larger tips. Her manager, once skeptical, started trusting her judgment more. Opportunities slowly unfolded where struggle once lived. Sometimes courage doesn't roar. Sometimes it whispers across a diner table in the middle of an ordinary Tuesday afternoon. If this story touched your heart, take a moment to engage with this video, like it, share it, and let others feel this reminder that kindness still exists. And before we end, comment, kindness wins, if you believe doing the right thing always comes back around. Because somewhere out there, someone is standing at a crossroads, wondering whether to stay silent or speak up. And maybe, just maybe, your courage could be the luxury car that arrives at someone else's door.